In today's video, we will discuss the input hypothesis, which is a part of the Krashen's theory of second language acquisition. So let's dive in. The input hypothesis is Krashen's attempt to explain how the learner acquires a second language, or in other words, how second language acquisition takes place. The input hypothesis states that we acquire by going from meaning first, and as a result we acquire structure. The comprehensible input is the crucial and necessary ingredient for the acquisition of any language. We can say that the input hypothesis is linked to the natural order hypothesis. The natural order hypothesis claims that we move along the developmental continuum by receiving the comprehensible input. This hypothesis emphasizes the role of exposure to comprehensible input in second language acquisition. It also states that speaking fluency cannot be taught directly, but it emerges over time on its own. The exposure here means the contact that the learners have with the target language that they are attempting to learn. That is to say, we acquire language only when we understand language that contains structure that is a little beyond where we are now. To say it using different words, comprehensible input is defined as the L2 input just beyond the learner's current L2 competence in terms of its syntactic complexity. Krashen believes that comprehensible input, that is I+1, should be provided, and the input should be relevant and not grammatically sequenced. The input which is either too simple or too difficult will not be useful for acquisition. So, the comprehensible input hypothesis states that people acquire language best from messages that are just slightly beyond their current competence, that is, I+1. Comprehensible input I+1 is highly required so that a learner can understand what is being said without being overwhelmed with too much new linguistic information. I represents what the learner already knows in the target language, and +1 represents what is being taught. As we already stated before, according to this hypothesis, the learner improves and progresses along the natural order when he or she receives second language input that is one step beyond his or her current level or current stage of linguistic competence. For example, if a learner is at stage I, then acquisition takes place when he or she is exposed to comprehensible input that is a little beyond his current level, that is I+1. We can say that the input hypothesis is only concerned with acquisition, not learning. And the most important point is to provide acquirers with comprehensible input. And in a nutshell, we can say that we acquire by comprehensible input, which is I+1. The input hypothesis relates to acquisition, not learning. The focus is not on the structure, but on understanding the message. Teachers should not teach structure deliberately, but rather I+1 is provided naturally when the input is understood. And finally, production ability emerges over time and it's not taught directly. And that's it. I hope it was clear enough. Thank you for watching and see you in another video.